second, please. All right. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. All right. Well, I hope everybody had a great trading day today. And so,
Awesome, awesome,
what
awesome.
a wild Tuesday, right? So, so down pre-market, and then a huge dip buy, and then back down again. Again, very interesting with this whole inflation news, or this whole inflation drama. And we'll see how it plays out tomorrow going into the Fed day, so that should be pretty interesting too. So what we're going to do is, guys, we're going to continue our series here on using volume, and today we're going to be talking about turning points. So really important stuff, and we've kind of touched on this in some videos in the past, but I kind of wanted to make a separate video to talk about it. So it's a very, very important part about using volume. So good stuff there. Before we get started, everything we're going to talk about is for educational purposes only and not investment advice. So please take a moment to review this disclaimer. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look and see where we left off in the market today, and then we're going to take a look at the futures and see where we're up to or down to here this evening and what we're setting up going into tomorrow, Fed Day. And then we'll take a look at the topic, and then we'll go through questions and chart requests. So let's get started. All right, guys. So SPX down 15 points here today. Still green on the monthly chart. The weekly chart turned red, but it's been kind of a narrow range, choppy week. But just that little bit of a red day. Look how much that moved the McClellan oscillator down. Right, it's starting to get a little bit heavy. Right, so let's keep an eye on it and see what they have in store for tomorrow. If Powell gets things ripping, if he decides to lower rates and get this inflation thing, unbridled, or if they hint about, hey, they'll probably talk about inflation. It's going up, and it's controlled. Some Fed talkers today were saying like, yeah, it looks like it's in the downtrend, that type of thing. So and they'll just kind of stick to their plan, which we might see tomorrow. But the press conference will be interesting, and we'll see if we get any wild moves tomorrow. In the meantime, daily chart, a little bit of a sketchy candle right here, kind of a shooting star off of all-time highs, ended up closing near the lows. If things do get a little bit rough, we might pull down to the 80 MA, and that kind of takes us where we've been tracking here on our Elliott wave count here. So you can see this count has been playing out really nicely for us right here with the ABC expanded flat move. We have this 1, 2, 3. We've been talking about this looking like an ending diagonal. And then we were down a little bit this morning, and I was like, it doesn't really look like it's getting ready to start the wave forward. And then we started to get a little bit of selling into the end of the day, and ended up looks like it's starting a wave forward. So let's see how that goes right here. This might be A. We might see a little B move tomorrow, and then maybe a C move after the Fed. So we'll see which way we go from there. Let's see what the futures. See what we're up to or down to here this evening. So SP futures down about $1.50. Looks like we're kind of chopping around here after hours. Generally, we're pretty bearish on the day. There's a lot of bearish indications at the end of the day that we look at in our group, and looking a little bit bearish. So we'll see how we end up opening. There could be some overnight drift, right? So definitely keep an eye on the 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. time frame here, right, to see if the European market, when it opens, if they try to buy the dip or not, if they start to work it to the upside. In the meantime, kind of breaking down here a little bit, but again, only down $1.50 right now. A couple key levels that we want to watch here is this 43.58, and then of course the today's low of the day, and see how that holds through the evening. So good stuff there. And not really too much to really track right here. We can kind of put like a tight geometric line on this. Let's see if we can get above it here, right? So there's that to kind of keep an eye on here too. So good stuff. So let's go back to the topic here. So this week we've been talking about using volume, and today we're going to be talking about turning points. So really, really important stuff. And we've touched on it in the past. We haven't really put a whole video together on this this whole concept, but it's very important, right? To be able to look at volume. And I think yesterday we had a pretty good initial discussion on volume, on breakouts, when things really start to move. And one of the things that we notice is that when things are done, right, when things are ready to turn, we tend to see a lot of volume on those turning points, right? So so one of those examples that we could take a look at here, just like from yesterday, is Amazon, right? So Amazon made this really, really big push up, right? Gave this big move, right? Big candle right here, and then the volume kind of just started to turn down. And it looks like we're kind of turning here off of a shooting star candle. So you can see this turning point started to get met with some high volume, but we'll see if it's ready to go yet. But look at this right here. Let me clean this chart up a little bit for you. Okay, so wow, I still got lots of lines there. See this turning point right here where things turned? What I mean turning point, right, where price turns? Look at that. So right at that turning point right there, look at all the volume that started to come in there. Look how big that volume is, right? So a lot of times these turning points, you can see right here, we had a nice increased volume here before things started to turn. And you pretty much see it all the time. Look at this turning point up here. Look at that huge volume, right? So that kind of indicates that things are getting ready to move, right? So look at this turning point right here. Look at the volume, right? Started to work its way up. Here, big push, right? Volume. Right, so very, very, look at this, volume. Now, a lot of this comes, look at this, all the volume up here, right? So you'll notice that major turning points in the market tend to be met with, you can see it right here, it met with volume. It doesn't mean it's going to be the next day, but it can oftentimes give us a clue. So how do we pick up on that, and how do we start to move on it? Now, this is a little bit tougher right here. I would go ahead and say if this were the top on Amazon, that's not really super duper huge volume unless we start to see like a big spike in this. So, so this little example right here may not be one, but one of the things that we can do is we can look at our extensions, right, our Fib extensions to see where things are going, right? So for instance, Amazon, just off of this last push up right here, right, you kind of have this and this, right? We're getting really close to the 3.618, so we may not really be topped out here. Amazon might work its way a little bit higher, and we'll keep an eye on the volume in this area. The other thing you can do is time extensions, right? So you know, like from pivot to pivot, right? That type of thing to see where the next levels are, right? You can go to a, for instance, here, it's a time ratio. Let's see the time extension. Oh, hold on. All right, time extension, right? So you can kind of go here, go to this turning point, come back here, right? And kind of start to look for the extent 1.618, right? We start to get some volume off of that, right? So you can kind of look at these extensions to see where these things are going, right? So you start to see this all the time. And it's really, really helpful to help determine whether or not, you know, a top is in, or we're starting to start a turning point. We kind of adjust our strategies, right? So another one is AMD, right? So we talked about this one yesterday. So let's take a look at this one, right? So look at the volume that came. Oh, let's say go here. Right, see this big top right here. Look at the volume that kind of came in there, right? And so so this is actually pretty interesting up here. This big drop was actually met with some pretty decent volume here as well. You know, and you can really start to see these kind of tops start to come in here. Here's the all-time high here, right? With a decent slug of volume right here. Decent top right here, decent slug of volume, right? So this tends to happen right around our turning point areas, right? Another one, Roku. Let's take a look. This is another example that we had from yesterday. Roku, right? So this one, you know, at this point here, let me clean up this chart a little bit. Roku's not a huge volume name, right? But we could see a couple different areas where things started to turn, right? We started to see some pretty big chunks of volume coming kind of into this area right here, right after earnings. Boom, big chunk of volume right here. And this little bottom right, this little mini bottom right here before we got the move up, right, showed a big amount of volume, right? So really, really important stuff. And we see this stuff on the intraday as well, right? So if you go to Amazon, wasn't, you know, too big, but let's look at Apple on the intraday today. Right, so if we go here on Apple, Apple had a pretty big push up and then a pretty big move down, right? So so a lot of this was a you know, kind of a big push right here. But look at although the top itself was kind of minor volume, look at the bottom. A lot of times we see this on the intraday. We see the bottom start to be met with like big volume, right? So big drop right there, big volume came in, and what do you know? Turning point right there, right? So pretty cool stuff. Not a huge amount here at this this top right here, but again, kind of a nice double top here. A bit of a bearish, well, bearish wing harmonic on that one to work its way to the downside. So keep an eye on that volume. Look for turning points. It's really, really helpful stuff. So good. So at this point now, if anybody's got any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those in the chat window, and we'll get through as many as we can and try to wrap as early as possible so we can all get a good night's sleep and have another awesome trading day tomorrow. So Shirley sent a few in via email, so let me get these pulled up here. So Shirley, hope you're doing great out there. So you've got Big C on the radar. A couple bearish names on the radar right here. So decent pullback right here under the 80 MA, not really being met with a lot of volume, but definitely a weak candle right here. It closed below a couple pivots, so it may see a little bit more downside. AI. This has been kind of a hot name here too recently, right? So you can kind of see here, this last little kind of mini top right here was met with a lot of volume. This little turning point right here was met with a big chunk of volume, and now we're below the 80 MA on this one and closed a couple of pivots. So this one does look like it might have some more downside in it, but again, it didn't have much volume today. Lens, so the home builders, it's kind of on my bearish radar here today. A lot of the home builders were pretty weak today. Nice increased volume here, closed below the 8-day and the 50-day moving average, right? Watch your next level right here, 95.50, and then below there you got kind of a closing gap here at 94.40ish. So keep an eye on that. And then QS, let's take a look. QS again. This thing's just like perma bearish on this one, right? So this is a tough one. It's kind of a grinder, right? So just see if it continues to work its way down. It's kind of coming in. It's below a little bit of support here today. So definitely keep it on the bearish radar. It could be interesting tomorrow. And then Riot. So nice Bitcoin sympathy mover, right? So Bitcoin's been kind of struggling, been kind of choppy. Volume's not really here, like to get too excited about it, but we may see still some kind of chop in this range right here. Let's keep an eye on this geometric line right here. Right, basically the 200-day moving average is serving as a nice geometric line, right? So kind of keep an eye on that. Looks like it's regular. Just see if we can get some volume below these areas right here, and then of course if it wants to work its way up, watch this here too. So good stuff. Appreciate it, Shirley. Samar, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're doing great. Yeah, let's take a look at Tesla. I know, a huge 180-degree move today, back to the ADMA. And like we said, guys, it's been really tough for me to get bullish on this name. I mean, there's definitely some trades in here. There's a nice little doji sandwich up. We came right to this geometric line that we drew yesterday and rejected it today, right? So that was a kind of a big clue that we pointed out last night. And here you can just see just a quick drop at the open. We chopped for a little bit right here. We had a bit of a kind of a triangle here intraday. Once we broke that with some volume, right, Tesla started to work its way down. And then, yeah, let's take a look at SHOP. Again, SHOP, pretty wild moves here. Again, kind of hung in there today. Green candle, a little bit of increased volume. Just watch the upper shadow here off of these levels. Right, see if we can break over today's highs and maybe get going again. But pretty cool stuff here. I mean, look at all the volume that came in here, right, on these kind of turning points, right? So that can be very, very helpful. Can give us a lot of great clues, right? And when particular moves might be done. This one just kind of hanging out here so far. So good stuff. Appreciate it. And bullish bearish trades is going on. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Let's take a look at Asana. So Asana doing pretty good right here. Nice green candle off the ADMA. Volume's a little bit low, but may try to continue to work its way up. TDOC. They've been trying to get this one to go, but it's really just been chopping here for a long time. So just kind of keep an eye. There's a bunch of geometric levels right here you kind of want to keep an eye on. Right, so just keep an eye on this, right? So, and then we got this right here. It's starting to break below a little bit. See if it gets below the 50-day moving average, some more volume. Then we'll see what it does here going into earnings. Apple, let's take a look. Apple again, decent volume here today. Again, big upper shadow off the all-time highs. It kind of hung in there with the green candle. So this was a very, very strong mover at the open that we pointed out on our live stream today. Nice move. Look at the increased volume after the open. I always like that, right? So for a nice move up, and then got to fresh all-time highs before kind of coming back down again, and then a little bit of volume when it was ready to reverse back up a bit here into the end of the day. And then Mr. Softy, let's take a look. So Microsoft was really strong pretty much overall today. Hung in there. This is about as strong as Apple today. Very, very good move. Fresh all-time highs, increased volume, still riding the ADMA, right? So nice stuff there on Microsoft. And then JP Morgan, guys. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs both reported today. We're going to have some more banks reporting this week. Of course, we got Fed tomorrow to maybe shake things up one way or the other. Ended up hanging in there today, a little bit of a dip buy, but pretty weak at the open. It was the XLF was pretty weak for the majority of the morning. So nice down move off of pretty good earnings on this one, right? So let's see how that ends up going into the Fed, right? The Fed will, if anything, could affect this one. It does look like it's working on a bit of a harmonic pattern right here. So if things look bullish after the Fed, JP Morgan and good earnings, JP Morgan might actually work on a nice harmonic wing here to work its way to the upside. So I think that's something to keep an eye on here too. Let's take a look at Verb for GG. Hope you're doing well. Great. Thanks for tuning in. So Verb. Little penny name right here, but kind of an upper shadow off these levels. Could be working on the start of a cup pattern right here. We got a bunch of volume coming into this thing recently, so keep an eye on it, see if it pulls back and then maybe breaks out of that kind of that geometric area that it formed here today. Cool on. What's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. The Nest, what's up? Good to see you. Thanks for making it. Let's take a look at Trip. So Trip, nasty pullback right there to the 200-day, and I think it looks like it closed right below it. Not as much volume as yesterday, but pretty steady. AYX again, inside day, low volume on that one, so just see how that holds off of the 50-day. BHC still just kind of chopping around here, keeping an eye on the geo line that we drew yesterday, and then AXNX. Let's take a look. Hanging in there, inside day. Right, just kind of retesting the geometric line to see if it tries to bounce off of that one. And then knee, the nice who say knee. So next there, let's take a look at this one right here. So actually a recent pivot right there could be interesting. So let's keep an eye on this geometric line right here so we get back over the 200-day moving average in the cloud to try to get some energy on that. So good stuff there. And you got Cell H on the radar here too. Let's take a look. Cell H. Tried to give a push here today and ended up closing with a big upper shadow, which is kind of frustrating. PD. I know we looked at this one yesterday. Downside follow through from yesterday's red candle, right? Didn't have the volume, but definitely got the follow through. So it happens. You don't necessarily need volume, but we like it if we're, we look to take a position. Vizio, Nice push on Vizio. I know you've been asking about it a lot right here, so nice push on this one. So good move, and I think we had a bullish count on that this weekend. And TTD getting really tight in here, guys. Again, it was looking like a flag before, now it's kind of looking like a little bit of a kind of like a diamond pattern right here. So just keep an eye on that here going into the next couple days. See if you can break out or break down one way or the other. Mitchell, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Let's take a look at Zumba. So Zoom, had a decent start today. It looked like it was going to get going. Kathy bought some yesterday. Spent a bunch of money on Zoom yesterday, and then kind of down here with a little spinning top. So, keep an eye on it, see how it goes. The recent move up has been pretty steady. You can definitely count 5 waves in here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we could be looking at a little A, B, C type down move, and then maybe Zoom will get going again. Baba. So Baba's still going, guys. Again, one of the Chinese names had a pretty strong sector today. JD was a nice close today. Baba got a nice gap up, good follow through from this, holding this $200 whole number level right here. Got to the 80 MA. So just keep on it, see if you can get over today's highs and get going on that one. And then of course Facebook with a decent push right there. But I tweeted out a little bit earlier. Watch out for a potential little triple top right here. Right, you got this, and this, right? So rejecting those levels, right? So just look if it breaks down below those lows, if Facebook wants to test a little bit lower, like the recent, this line right here, which is kind of recent resistance that could be potential support. So it just depends on the market. It depends on the Fed tomorrow, really. So Armando, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Let's take a look at ATVI. Haven't looked at this name in a while. And probably because it's been chopping around. It loves to do this, right? Sometimes it'll make a move and then it'll just chop forever. But let's take a look here, see how that's going. We got this, and you kind of got this going on right here. So tight range right here, heading up into earnings, but they might try to do a little bit of earnings run, see if we can break over that geometric line. LRCX, let's take a look. LRCX, let's see. So this one getting pretty tight here too. We recently drew a geo, kind of came back and retested it. Got deep in it. So what I would do is kind of stretch this out here, and see how that triangle holds here for some direction. AZN, let's take a look. AZN, so AZN, a couple little upper shadows right here, so we can kind of break above there and get going. And then LLY. Again, biotech names are always tough for me to really evaluate, but sometimes they do get going. It's kind of grinding, so I'm still holding the 80 MA on this one here too, so just kind of keep an eye on your trend line here and see how that holds. So good stuff. LMUA, what's going on? Going to see how do you differentiate more volume that would signal a run versus incoming reversal, turning point? I mean, it's tough. I mean, you really got to kind of be in tune, with the stocks. So you got to stock, kind of really stock these names right here. I mean, like Roku, right, is kind of one that we've been looking at. Amazon's one we've been looking at too. You really just have to, like, when things start to get extended. So we mentioned like the Fibonacci extensions is really helpful, or if you're doing a wave count, right? So a nice wave count on something, is definitely something to keep an eye on, right? So like just for instance, like Amazon, right? We're kind of stocking this thing. It's getting really close to the 3.618 extension right here. I'd like to see a little bit more volume coming in, but for instance here, right? So this is a good example right here. You can kind of see if you do a wave count on this one, right? You kind of see you have this wave 1, right? Wave 2, right? Wave 3, right? Wave 4. Right, and then wave 5, right? We don't necessarily know where wave 5 is going to. I mean, nobody knows, right? For sure. But one of the things that we could do is we could do an extension here from wave 2 to wave 3, and then back down to wave 4, and you can kind of go to the 618, right? To look for where that is, right? And you can see the 618 was really, really close up here, right? And then we started to get some big red candles, right? With some big volume coming in, right? Kind of going up there. So to me, that would be a good signal. If you get a good wave counter, if you get a good Fibonacci, and even the time extensions on those twos can help as well. Or if you just get a feel for how the waves move with a particular name that you're tracking, you can kind of look at it, like that, right? So, I mean, this is another one too. I mean, this one right here, the volume is, it's getting there a little bit. We're starting to see some red candles and some increasing volume right here. But you can kind of look, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of triangle wave 5, right? So similarly with this one, you can kind of go up here, go here, and track. And that one really blew through the 618, right? Kind of came up to the 100% retrace. So it's a one big level. The other one was the 3.618, which we're getting close to as well. So combining that with Fibonacci's and volume can really help in your wave counts. It's going to be very, very helpful. And the Nest, what's going on? Triple and 200 on the weekly. Nice. Mookie, so it didn't cut PayPal at the high market roll. Let's take a look at this one. So PayPal had a pretty big push today, kind of reversed a little bit right here. Square was another one that had a kind of a day today, didn't it? Yeah, I had some news, but I guess it didn't really move off of it. So Square is a fun one, right? So cool, good stuff. And so the Nest, not sure why it looks different on stock charts and TOS. Not not sure. The 200, maybe you're using exponential. Maybe it's defaulted as exponential or simple, right? So I use simple for my 200 day. Mookie, yeah, we looked at that. So good to see you. Thanks again for tuning in. The Nest, National Gym Stock Trade, right? Exactly, 200 on the weekly. Yeah, so it might be a difference between exponential or simple, right? So keep an eye on that. See what the settings are in the different programs that you're using. I use simple on this. Messy, what's going on? Good to see you. Let's take a look at DK and G. So DK and G looking pretty tight, right? So looking a little bit triangular. So you got this. Watch that level. I mean, kind of got this going on right here too. If it gets a little bit below it, you've also got this. Right, so just kind of keep an eye on those geometric lines here going into the next week or so for DK and G. AMD. Let's take a look. AMD again. Generally, we're pretty bullish on this name still. It looks like it might be working on a wave 5 up, but this could be still a 1-2, so we still might see a bigger retrace on AMD. So let's just kind of see how it holds the recent lows, and then if they put some bullish volume into it, and then TJX. TJX double inside day. See if we can break out of those levels one way or the other. Fast Johnny, what's going on? Wish. We're wishing this thing will get going, right? So this thing has had some huge volume recently, but hasn't really been getting a lot of follow through. So keep an eye on it. Might be a little bit of a retrace right here, and then let's see if we can get over the 80 and try to get going again. But otherwise, kind of rough there below the 50-day and the 8-day. Clove, let's take a look. So a little bit of a move yesterday, and then kind of back down again. It's going to be hard to get to these recent highs. You definitely see some volume off of that last turning point, right? So a big move there. And Neo, let's take a look. Neo's still kind of hanging in there. It's basically on the old geometric line at this point here. It's tough, right? A couple of this wave count looks like it's pretty much done, right? After we kind of took out these recent lows, so that looks like that was a wave 5. Let me take the question mark off of there. And then at this point now, it's sort of looking like an 8, maybe like we're in some sort of ABC pattern, right? This could be like potential zigzag. So A, B, we might get a little bit of a C pullback on this one. So just kind of keep an eye on it and see how it holds. So good stuff there. And the Nest, you got LMT on the radar here still. So you look. LMT is so tight, right? So definitely getting tight here. So just keep an eye, see if we can kind of break out of these ranges here. I know Paul had some good counts on this one, but it's a very, very tricky name to trade. GT, let's take a look. Goodyear pulling down a little increased volume there under the 80 MA. Looks like they tried to fill the closing gap, may have just missed it, and just kind of see how it holds. If we do get some more bearish activity on it, you got a huge scene of the breakout right here that it may want to test around the if things get really bearish around 1350, right around the 200-day moving average. So keep an eye on that one too. But good stuff, guys. Good finds today. Really appreciate it. Well, good. Well, hopefully everybody's been finding this series helpful here on Volume. Definitely looking for turning points. Again, using Fibonacci's, things like that to help kind of evaluate if you got a good count on it. Sometimes it can tell you when things are kind of wrapping up, right? So and getting ready to turn. So good stuff there. Oh, we got a couple in here. Tracy, you made it. Awesome. Just in time, right before the cutoff. Let's take a look at CRWD. Let's take a look at CRWD. Upper shadow off this one. Back to the 80 MA on this. Such a tough name right here. I wouldn't even mess with it. Roku, even the last breakout was kind of blah. Roku is looking a little bit rough here, guys. It's sitting on the 80 MA. If things start to get weak on this thing, it actually could be working on a little bit of a bearish swing harmonic here too. You got this. I know it looks like it's possible it could work. Just in case it doesn't work its way up, right? You got this as a possibility, right? Kind of a little bearish potential move on it. But it also could be working on a 1-2, right? So look for the 618 retrace. It could be 1-2, like we said, 3, 4, and then a subwave 1, 2, and then boom, we might see a larger wave 3 of 5. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on there too. Chewy, been kind of chopping around here recently. Gave a nice breakout candle the other day, then kind of pulled back. We did say that it got a good chance to get into the 80 MA. It did this morning before it bounced. It's kind of an overnight-ish idea on that, and but it is holding on to the 80 MA. And then Futu, let's take a look. Futu is struggling here, inside day below the 50-day and the 80 MA. So if it breaks down below the day's lows, right, you got a nice gap below right here that it may target. So that's a possibility there too. Cool on, well, thanks. So John, the last couple of years learning from you, best teacher. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Cool on, you're an awesome, awesome sport. I really appreciate you. Thanks so much. So anyway, guys, really appreciate everybody for tuning in here this evening. Great chart requests. Hopefully you guys have been finding this series helpful. We've got another great topic tomorrow, so hope to see you guys then. In the meantime, guys, we got Fed tomorrow, so 2 o'clock rate announcement, 2:30 J Powell press conference. Keep an eye for that, and should be an interesting one. So just trade cautiously and kind of go from there. So anyway, guys, we'll see you bright and early here tomorrow morning here on YouTube for the Good Morning Market Prep video, and hope to see you guys then. And until then, stay healthy out there, and remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And we'll talk to you